patents. And overall scope of my presentation will be as follows. I'll first like to discuss what do we mean by intellectual property. What is the value and importance of intellectual property? There is an IPR cycle. We can discuss about that. Different various forms of IPR. What are they? And few success stories. And then I'll take you on to the patents because patents being an important topic. And we will in general cover all of the IPR forms. I'll discuss in general all the IPR forms. So you'll get to know a lot. So let's begin. Yeah. So what do we mean by intellectual property? What is intellectual property? I understand, the word intellectual or the word intellect relates to mind. So any creativity that is coming out of mind or anything that is, creation of mind can be termed as intellectual property. And why do we associate the word property here? It is understood that human mind or human brain is very creative, and we tend to spend a lot of time and energy and efforts in coming out with something creative, be it novels, be it inventions, be it various logos, or be it certain any element of clothing or food or anything. So there are so many creations around us everywhere. We see there are some creations, and so it becomes very important to us to have some kind of value to it. So we associate the term intellectual property. Intellectual property, and we can also term it as a business asset. In the same way, like a real estate. A real estate has a certain value. We define it. It has a boundary. Whenever we buy a house, it has a certain boundary. And then even in the papers where we go to register it, we define a boundary to the real estate. And we assign a value to the real estate so that it can be sold, it can be given on lease, it can be given on rent, and it can be used for our own purpose or for our own benefit. Similarly, intellectual property is also a business asset. Companies hold or individuals hold business assets in the form of intellectual property. They can be in the name of trademarks or patents or copyrights. And they have certain value associated with them in a similar way as real estate has. So again, IPR also akin to real estate has to be developed, has to be maintained, upgraded, protected, and the user has to realize its value. Now, why intellectual property is important? So over the years, we have seen, if you see in this image, there is a small fish that is being eaten by a larger fish, and then even a bigger shark is going to eat the smaller fish. And what we see in this image is that, bigger companies tend to eat smaller companies, and smaller companies tend to eat the startups. But we continue to see this cycle, and how this cycle can be stopped is by having something called as intellectual property. Suppose one company has some intellectual property with it, so it can, pose a big or tell to the bigger company that, okay, I have this much intellectual property with me, and my value is not what it appears on the papers. It's also there in the assets which I have in the form of intellectual property, in the form of patents, trademark, copyright, etc. So let us look at a couple of quotes from great stalwarts of the recent century. And the first one, it says, if this business was split up, I would give up land and bricks and mortar, and I would take the brands and trademarks, and I would fare better than you. It was said by the chairman of Coker Company, John Stewart. Another quote by president of Coca-Cola Company, he said, if each company, factory, office, car, truck owned would burn down in a moment, and company would get back to operational rebuilding and buying everything lost in 1 year due to the value and profit generated by its intellectual property, namely the income generated by its trademarks, franchise contracts, patents, licenses, etc. So these are a couple of statements, and we know we've seen over the years that all big companies they have actually their value. Whatever the value they have is because of their intellectual property. So understanding that intellectual property play a big role in taking the companies or individuals to new heights, to not only the heights of monetary value, but also to have a widespread across the world. And these are the various forms of IP which we will be discussing today, namely patents, trademark, design, copyright, trademark, geographical indication, plant variety, and protection. So these are the various forms of intellectual property for which some protection is available in India. And briefly, patents are meant for new inventions. How we get patents, we have to file an application. It goes under some scrutiny, some examination is taken place. Copyright, original creative artistic forms, they are mainly for, one can have a copyright for them. Copyright, though, exists automatically, one doesn't need to register it, but always suggested that registrations is always useful. Trademarks, any distinctive identification products or services. A prolonged use of any mark which has not been registered can qualify as a trademark. And even there's a registration process whereby one can file trademark in the trademark registry, apply for trademark, and one can get a trademark. So these are in brief. And registered design. Registered design is for protection of external appearance of an article. For example, we have shown a Coca-Cola bottle. So even if Coca-Cola is not written on the bottle, one can know by the design of the bottle that it belongs to Coca-Cola. So the registration of design is again mandatory here. Another form of IP that we see is trademarks. Trade secrets. And trade secrets is anything which is not protected. It is kept as a secret. It can be kept as a secret between a couple of people or between few people. And by way of, they can also have some certain contracts between them. For example, confidentiality agreements. So there have to be reasonable efforts to keep them secret. So let's discuss briefly about them one by one. First, let's discuss about trademarks. Trademarks, if we see everywhere, every company or every shop nowadays, they have certain name written on their company. They have certain their business as a name. So what is the importance of a trademark, and what we should do, why we should actually have a trademark for ourselves? If we see over the years, many companies have become famous, and people actually know these companies only by their trademarks. They see the trademarks or the logos or the trade names, and people identify these companies with their trademarks. So it's a way of identifying a certain company or a product. And what are the essentials of a trademark? So one of the most essential features of a trademark is that it should have a distinctive symbol, sign, or logos. Distinctive in the sense that the same symbol or design or logo should not have been used by anyone else. So one should always, you're going to start your own venture, own business, you always should make an effort to come out with your own new point term rather than going with some conventional known name, because always conventional known names may have been already in use by someone else, and you may not get a protection over that already used trademark. So it's always useful to have a distinctive symbol or distinctive sign or logo or name to your entrepreneur venture or to your business. Another important point to note while coming up with a trade name or a trademark is that it should not be very descriptive of the services you are offering. For example, pharmacy services. So you cannot call your shop or call your business just a pharmacy. It may if you try to register your name of the medical shop, of the pharmacy shop as just a pharmacy shop, it may not be registered because the name is so descriptive of the business you do that it will not be registered. So it's always important to come out with all unique names. For example, people come out with names which have no meaning at all. Uh, as you see on the side, there is a logo of Pepsi, there's a logo of Microsoft, there's a logo of Tata. We cannot identify actually what are the products they are selling, but we know because we have been using these products since a long time. So trademark again is legally not linked to quality. It does not identify quality, but in fact, in the consumer's mind over a period of time, the users tend to develop a quality expectation from a particular brand or a particular trademark. So for example, whenever we see Microsoft, we see, okay, they manufacture computers, laptops, Windows, and we tend to associate that the fine finish in their quality or in their machines. Examples of various trademarks, again, you must have seen, whenever you see a trademark, you must have seen certain symbols right across the trademark. For example, symbol R or TM or SM. So symbol R is used when your trademark which you apply, it has already been registered, you have already been, your trademark has been approved. Then you can apply symbol R to next to your trademark. TM is used when it is still under registration or it is unregistered, you have not applied for. So you can use the symbol TM. SM is again used for service marks. So whenever there is a service being offered, for example, there are service of plumbing, electrician or such services. So in those cases, SM can be used instead of TM. And if service marks are registered, again, symbol R can be used. So this is a brief about trademarks. Let us now see about copyrights. Copyrights, again, it's represented with symbol C, as you see here in circle at the top. So copyright is a property right that protects original works of authorship, including literary, dramatic, musical, artistic works. And copyrights, so we read so many novels and we see so many movies, we listen to songs, and there's so much of computer software available nowadays that all of this is subject of a copyright protection. Again, as I earlier said, copyright protection is not mandatory. But it is always recommended to seek copyright protection, to apply for copyright protection. All these IPs, various forms, where do we get protection at? So so every country, they have their certain department. India has intellectual property office. So in India, intellectual property office is there in 5 cities: Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata and Chennai, and Ahmedabad. So all the 5 cities have a trademark registry, meaning thereby you can apply for trademark at all the 5 places. And excluding Ahmedabad, that is, Delhi, Mumbai, and your Chennai and Kolkata, they have your patent office. Copyright registry is at Delhi office, there in Kolkata, and GI is in Chennai. So so there is intellectual property office. It comes under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So one can apply for all these various forms of IPB, trademark, copyright, design, industrial designs, registered or approved or granted. For example, copyright is a very, very cheaper form of IP when it comes. So one can file a copyright, and the fee is only rupees 500. Also, every IP here we talk about has a certain term. A term in the sense the term for which the protection is given by the law, and the protection for copyright is the term of the author's life plus 60 years. So, for example, an author, we heard recently about, Harivansh Rai Bachchan. He expired somewhere in early 2000s, and all his poems, whatever he has written, he had got protection for those till his lifetime plus 60 years after his lifetime. So all his generations further, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan and so on, they all will be getting benefit of his, his creations, his poems, his all his works of literature. Now let's discuss about briefly about geographical indications. This is one of the newer forms of IP. Not everyone is aware of what are geographical indications. So as we understand the word itself, it's many goods possesses their peculiar properties due to their geographical origin. So as you can see, their logos are there: Darjeeling tea, or the bottom one shows a peda. It can be associated with like Mathura peda, or even a Tirupati laddu, or Banarsi silk, or Malihabad Dasheri. So all these are various forms of geographical indications. In this, the protection is given to a particular community because, for example, Banarsi silk, it comes from around 5-6 districts around Banaras and Banaras included, where all these weavers, handloom weavers, they weave the silk, and so the protection is for them basically because it is their work, their hard work, their handiwork, which they use, and over the centuries they have been using to come out with this product. But what used to happen that there are many other units which used to take advantage of this situation, and they used to sell their products in the name of Darjeeling silk. So geographical indication gives protection to these people, these weavers, because it is their work, and there's certain finesse, there's certain quality associated with it. So they have got a protection for this. And if now we wear any, if now the ladies wear any saris, they can definitely see on the Banarsi silk that there will be a GI mark, meaning thereby that there is some certain GI indication associated with the silk. So also similar, GI is the best method to indicate geographic origin of goods and services. Like Tirupati laddu is associated with only Tirupati, so one can relate. Okay, this has come from this region. Even basmati to say, it's such a unique form of rice, of grain of rice that we eat in our homes, but we have never known that it comes from a certain area of the Indo-Gangetic plains that only basmati is produced. Nowhere else in the world you get such a grain of rice, such a unique quality, which has a long grain and a certain odor and smell to it when it is cooked at a certain degree. So that is the uniqueness associated with this particular grain, and it comes from this region. So no other region can say that, okay, our rice is also basmati rice. They have to, have certain, either they have to challenge whatever the thing has already been given to this people of this region producing basmati, or they also have to be a part of it. Even if we go to Europe, there are several we see, alcoholic beverages. For example, champagne comes from a place in France, and Scotch comes from Scotland. So they all have associated with them certain distinct quality or certain distinct characteristic that geographical indications associate and give a right to these people of that region or place. This is one of the very newer forms of IP again, Plant Variety Act. Here, the farmers or the people who are coming out with a new plant variety, they can register their new plant varieties under the Act. What do we mean by the new plant varieties? New plant varieties have to undergo this test of, which is also in short called the DUS test, DUS test. DUS meaning distinctiveness. Distinctiveness, in other words, means that the plant should have a distinctive characteristic to it. For example, distinctive characteristic could be in the shape, or in the strength, or in color, or any other feature of the plant. Uh, Again, it should be uniform. For example, it should maintain its shape, form, or whatever the distinctive characteristic we talked about. When it is grown from in a different environment, it should be stable. So stability means when we talk of its progeny, and when the plant grows over the next generations we take, and the again the unique characteristic associated with the plant should be stable. It should not show any kind of variation in the characteristic. So that is also one of the newer acts, and also protects farmers' rights. This is another form of intellectual property known as an integrated circuit layout design. And people who have studied electronics or computers engineering, they will know that, and every one of us now knows that how smaller our devices have become, how smartphones, how small smartphones have become, or televisions have become, or computers have become, or any other machines, electronic machines have become. And it all has been possible because of this use of the integrated circuits. One integrated circuits could fit in thousands and millions of smaller components, transistors, etc. So it is very important for these components to have a particular layout, because you have to fit in so many thousands of components. So it becomes very important to protect whosoever is designing that layout. So it becomes very important to give him certain rights or credit for coming out with certain layout, because considerable time and effort must go on when he came out with certain such creation. So this is one of the forms of intellectual property, specifically for integrated circuits. Industrial designs are simply called designs. Around us, and which are distinct characteristics. So even if used on the bottle Coca-Cola, we can still identify it with the drink or with the beverage. Why we can identify? Because the bottle has got a unique shape, or the article. So what does design protect? Design protection, or the design law gives protections to the outer shape of any article. It can be 3D, or it can be also 2D patterns on, for example, bed sheet, or for example, there are so many people, fashion designers, who come up with their designs, and so they can sue anyone who's using those designs without their consent. So as entrepreneurs, or as business holders, we should be aware of all these IPs, be it trademarks, copyright, or designs, or GIs, uh, so that whenever we come up with these ideas in our mind, or creation in our mind, we can register these creations in our name so that we don't see a problem tomorrow. Also, it is essential that we do not infringe upon any other person's trademark or design, and we do not use his trademark or design unknowingly as well, because even using any trademark without knowing can be an offense. So various examples if we see of IP we see here. Coca-Cola is a trademark. Apple iPod, it could have a so these things are very helpful. So if we have seen that Coca-Cola was invented sometime in the years 1888, if I'm not wrong, and over the past 132 years, they have been able to keep their formula as trade secret, and that is the USP of their drink or their beverage, and why they have been able to sustain so long. So also we see that IP portfolio, a, a, a single product can have different forms of IP, various forms of IP. For example, we see here there's a Nokia phone, so it can have trademarks like Nokia product N95, and it uses softwares like Symbian and Java. So all these can be having some trademarks. Then there are patents. Patents can be for data processing methods, communication methods, semiconductor circuits, chemical compounds used for manufacturing the phone. And there can be copyrights for software codes, instruction manual, or the ringtones that are used in the phone. Trade secrets, there may be some trade secrets, but are we aware of them? Designs, form of the overall phone, arrangement of buttons in oval shape, three-dimensional waveforms of buttons. So let's get to some success stories. So one of the success stories we are discussing about is a Pilot Frixion erasable pen. So we all have been using pens in our lives, and we see that if we make a small mistake, it's very difficult to erase the ink of the pen. So this pen is something where we can rub the ink. So it has a certain technology, and the ink becomes visible when heated with an invisible when heated with an erasing motion of the rubber tail cap. So eraser dust is generated, and no dust is generated. Like if we do for other erasers, they can also rub up or scratch the paper. So if we see the pens on the right, if you see clearly, they have a little white rubber tail cap, and this can be used for erasing the ink. So let's see how much successful this has been. 1.5 billion units sold till date, popular with everyone from small children to businessmen. So this pen was invented in Japan, and it's very popular over there. So it's also launched erasers, highlighters, and stamps. And what is the technology? So there is a thermosensitive, they call it Matamo ink. It becomes invisible as a result of heat. Initially, it is colored. It can be any color: blue, black, red, green, orange. And there's a certain temperature associated to the visibility that is between 10 degree to 60 degrees Celsius. So as soon as you see in the right-hand side graph, as soon as the temperature rises, the ink becomes visible, and it remains visible for till 60 degrees Celsius. And above 60 degrees Celsius, it simply becomes invisible. How does it happen? What makes it visible and invisible? So there is a dye that is used in the inks, that is called a leuco dye. And particularly with this type of ink, there is a certain color developer, which is B, which imparts the color to the dye. For example, if we are using a color developer of blue, then the dye will become blue, or green, then the dye will become green. And then third component of the ink is color change temperature regulator. So these three together, they form a microcapsule or a very, very small micro element of the ink, or microparticle of the ink. So each microcapsule or particle will have all these three components. So what happens when we rub with the rubber at the back side? Because of the friction between the rubber and the paper the ink is written on, it heats up the place, or it generates a certain friction, and because of the friction, it heats up the place, and the bond between A and B, that is the dye and the color developer, will break. And the bond breaks, thereby dissociating any color associated with the dye. So you see on the right hand side, there is A and B bond has been broken, which is shown here. So again, initial stage, room temperature, bonding between A and B, ink is visible. Final stage, friction applied, bonding between B and C, invisible ink. And let's see its development. This ink was first patented in 1975, and the development has been going since then. In 2002, Pilot reduced the particle size to 1/5 of the original size, 40 times narrower than human hair. Why they had to reduce the particle size? Because we all know that the pens have become, the tip of the pen have become very, very minute and smaller, and we also use 0.5, 0.7 mm of the tip. So the particle size can only come out of the tip, and it can be written only in fine quality on paper if it is as fine as possible. So that is why there was a need to reduce the particle size. Also, Pilot increased the temperature range of ink between -20 degrees Celsius to 65 degrees Celsius, thereby allowing this ink to be used in lower temperatures or freezing temperatures. And then another patent application was filed in the year 2006, which was granted in 2012. Let's go to another success stories. I see a couple of hands being raised. We can answer these questions, I think, after a few slides before we go on to the next part of patents. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if we see the Coke can story, very, very important invention. And we all drink Coca-Cola. We have all had it in our lives sometime or the other. And it's sold in bottles, glass bottles. It also used to be sold in aluminum cans. And this is one of the cans which it was sold in. So here this person, Amal Cleon Fraze, he invented this patent flip-flop cans in the year 1959. And how he invented, one time he went on a picnic with his friends to a countryside, and he took Coke bottles with him, glass Coke bottles, and he forgot the bottle opener at home. So he had to use his car to open the bottles, and which irked him a lot, and then he thought, because he was very creative from his mind, so then he thought of inventing something so that to give up with the bottle opener. And so he came up with the design of this Coca-Cola flip-flop cans or pull-up cans, pull-up tab. So very simple to use. We all know, you just apply pressure backside and it opens, and there's a small hole formed, and also you can open the hole of the rim. So what he did, even after coming up with this kind of a can, he sold or he licensed the system to Coca-Cola, and he used to get 0.1 cents per bottle sold. At the end of the lifetime of the patent, he had received royalties amounting to rupees 148,000 UK pounds just for this product. So a simple product or a simple invention can be so beneficial. Another very important invention of the last decade, people from every one of us now use cloud storage. So we know all this, and Dropbox is the pioneer, the inventor company in this space. And what is the invention? They allow space where users can save their files, store their files, and they can also share with other users over the internet. So patent was filed in the year 2010 by Dropbox co-founders, and Dropbox uses a freemium business model where users are offered a free account with a set storage size and paid subscriptions for use accounts with more capacity. So in the year 2014, they were valued at $10 billion and also got a $1.1 billion venture fund. So we can see that, over the years between 2010 and 14, they grew so much in size just because of one invention. Another important invention we use every now and then is the post-it slips. Post-it slips are glued using the post-it, and it was discovered by chance. So it happened by chance that this person who was working in 3M, he came up with certain kind of a glue where he found that it can stick, and it doesn't, the important quality which we might have noticed while putting on these post-it slips is that they do not leave any residue behind when we take these post-it slips off. So some important, some statements that we see in the print media, which are pretty confusing. These are the statements, and very, very amusing to all the IP practitioners sometimes. The company has patented its brand. Neem has been patented. Neem, we all know it's being used since centuries. It cannot be patented. It's not a new thing. It's a discovery, if anyone discovered, and that 2 centuries back. United States Patent Office has granted RiceTech the exclusive rights to use the word basmati, again a wrong statement. So even people working in media sometimes misrepresent things, sometimes they are mistaken. So they have a copyright on this trademark, this design is our patent. So all these statements are pretty confusing. We should be, I think, today's presentation will help you all to identify, distinguish between different forms of IP at least. What are the benefits of IP? As we have already seen with a couple of success stories, that it helps in growth of startups. It's an IP is an asset. It increases the values and promotes venture capital's attentions, and ensures freedom to operate. One can freely use their IP if they have in their names, protect from theft of invention, and increase company sales. So these are all the benefits of IP that we can enjoy. So I'll also briefly scroll down these slides. You can see all the logos or products, and you can relate which IP it may be. So if I see here, there are various logos. You can, maybe each of you will know which of these logos are. We identify all these products with, right? So I'll not go into asking you because we are over a online platform. And these are forms of IP. We know what is Woodland. So I think everyone can know what form of IP is the painting of Mona Lisa, and what form of IP this can be protected in. And this is another form of IP, Banarasi silk. We all discussed about it. It's a geographical indication. Again, I think you all can relate that this is a industrial design. Another industrial design, all the cars you see on the roads, why they have a different shape, or the grills of the cars in the front, why they have a different shape to them. They are all protected under design. Mysore Sandal soap, again coming from Mysore, and certain identification to it, certain unique characteristic to it, and it can be maybe it can go for a trademark as well as a geographical indication. Banarasi, sorry, this is Mathura Peda. So this is all mainly about all the forms of IP excluding patents. Now we can go on to patents, and maybe now we can take a break and answer. I can answer any questions that you may have.
Sure, sir. We have few questions in the chat box. Dear participants, you can raise your hand and we can enable the setting so that you can unmute yourself and ask the question directly from sir. So we have a question from Ayush Agarwal. He says, what about GeoMeet using same theme as used by Zoom in their video conferencing app?
So you are saying about theme in the sense that Geo is using the same theme, right?
Yes, sir.
So what I understand, it all depends whether Zoom had a certain type of protection to their theme, whether they went for patents in how the interface appears on the screen, and whether if they had protection, and if Geo is using the same kind of theme for their interface, then of course Zoom can file a patent infringement suit against Geo. But we need to know what we need to understand is, first of all, that does Zoom have certain protection for the interface that is there or not? Only then they can initiate any lawsuit.
Thank you, sir. We have another question. Just a second. How government promotes IPR and how it helps in ease of doing business?
Okay. See, government's duty is to first of all give protection to the rights of people, the creators, the inventors, and ensure that people who have these rights, they are protected. So it's all the duty of the government to have enforcement agencies, custom agencies, whereby they can stop any imports, or by enforcement agencies you mean police or any other investigation agencies, where they can help in investigation of any counterfeit infringing products. Also, government's duty is towards going out in the public and talking about IP, because IP helps in grow. Because when we will talk about patents, you will get to know that one of the essential criteria for getting a patent is that one has to disclose his invention to the public. And when one discloses the invention to the public, it goes into public domain, and people can build upon that invention. And that is how over the years of time people have built upon inventions and come out with products like which we use in our hands as smartphones today. So it's all the duties of the government to to do seminars, to do workshops, and through its ministry, and then have enforcement agencies, registration agencies, and all that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll take another question. Professor Kiran Tiwari, she says, is it necessary to go personally for trademark?
So what I understand from the question is that, is it necessary to go personally for the trademark?
Yes, sir.
Go where, in the sense, if I may ask him, go where, sir?
Dear participant, can you elaborate your question? So we can get back to this question in the meanwhile.
Yeah, we can get back.
Yes, we'll see if we have any more questions. Another participant asked, sir, registration of forms of IPR is compulsory or voluntary?
So as I earlier explained, trademark is not compulsory. One can have a trademark by showing that he has used his trademark over a period of time, for example, 10 years, 20 years, and then he has gained a certain reputation because of his trademark. So, of course, with in trademarks, your right also comes because of the use, over prolonged use, not a small period use, not 2 years, 5 years. And you have to show that the trademark has built a reputation for you. For example, you see Maruti Suzuki, it has certain reputation. You see, any other trademark, so many trademarks here, we know they have certain reputation with the product they are associated with, or with the company they are associated with. So it comes with the use, but it is always recommended that one should always go and register, because then one can, with even so you can get registration within a few months' time. And even after that, if someone uses your trademark without you knowing, you can go and stop him from using your trademark. Another thing is with copyrights. Copyright is again not essential to register, but again it's always recommended that one should register their copyrights whenever one writes a novel, or a book, or writes a song, or a poem, or any computer software. It is always recommended that one should register their copyrights over those things. Patents is, of course, mandatory. You have to have registration for your inventions. You cannot challenge anyone if you have not registered your invention, you don't have a patent on it. Then actually, if you're not patented your invention, that is then free to use. So
okay, thank you, sir. We have another query from Professor Akansha. Are copyrights and trademarks are related to GST registration?
Sorry, are related to?
GST, goods and service taxes, GST registration.
So GST would mean in terms of taxes, GST is only for, what I understand, GST is only for things or services you buy. So if you are buying certain services or you're buying certain products, then you have to pay GST on that. Here we are talking of intellectual property forms, so which is different from buying of products or services.
Thank you, sir. Now we don't have any more queries. We have so many compliments for you. Another question we have from Professor Jugesh Chandra. What are the advantages and disadvantages for registering or not registering of copyright or trademark or patent? What are the advantages and disadvantages of registering or not registering?
Yes, as I already explained, that copyright, if not, again, copyright is not mandatory to register. But again, if your copyright is not registered, any people, if they use it, then you will have to prove that your book is the original book, or your novel is the original work, and it came before the person who used it without your consent. So it's always beneficial, because when you register it, you will have a date associated with the copyright, and you can use that date. Okay, this date is earlier than the date on which the other person used it. Similar with the trademark. So whenever you have certain IP associated with your product or your company or your business, you can use that IP another very big advantage of having an IP is that, for example, if you have an IP of over a trade name, and over the period years of time you build a certain reputation, then you can even value your trademarks or trade names. For example, the word Pepsi will be valued in billion dollars. You cannot buy or use the word Pepsi. So over the years of time, with prolonged use, with when you gain certain reputation for your services or your products which you offer, uh, you build a certain reputation for yourself, and then you can value that reputation or value that brand which is associated with that reputation. So whenever, for example, there are bigger companies who buy out smaller companies, and they become bigger then. So all these companies, today's Flipkart or Amazon, they have huge value there to their trade names, trademarks they use, or Swiggy, or Zomato. We all associate these names with having a certain value, certain reputation, and they become so big brands that the value is also with the brand. They can sell their name to someone else and retain everything else, and the value of that name can be more than any other assets, physical assets that they may have.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have, so can we take few more queries?
Yes, we can. We have again another 40-minute session on patents. So if there are any other queries on patents, we can take those after patents session as well.
Sure, sir. Vivek Arya says, what are the license necessary to start electronic goods manufacturing industry?
So what are the licenses?
Yes, sir. What are the licenses required for electronic goods manufacturing industry?
See, I'll not be the right person to answer your question, maybe, because this is about, we are talking of intellectual property. If you have any intellectual property in the electronic space, if you think you have, you should definitely register them. This is not taking a license, but registering your name or your invention with the government.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Now we have 2-3 queries related to patents that we can take towards the end of the session. And
Yes.
we have so many compliments for your session, that very knowledgeable session, very enriching session, very useful session.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So shall we go ahead with patents?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. So let's now discuss patents, and how we will also discuss, as we proceed further, you will also understand that how patents are different from trademarks, copyright, geographical indications, or plant variety. Patents is altogether a different form of IP and very important for all the inventors, for all the people who are in research, and for anyone, because it's not only the inventors or the research students who can invent. Even people who are there in the management industry, the managers, they keep on inventing something and something. They keep coming out with certain more novel inventions of their own, that whether they can patent them or not, that's a different question. But everyone of us has got a creative mind, creative bent of mind, and we all have come across various inventions in our life. We all use various inventions in our life daily. We see the invention of this mobile phone, which we use in our hands, which we have in our hands all the time. And if you talk of number of patents that there are in the mobile phone, or which enable mobile phone to functions, then there can be several 100,000 patents associated with the mobile phone. There are so many features in the mobile phone. So what is a patent? We will discuss all this, as we go ahead in the session. And what is a patent? It's a monopoly right. Why monopoly right? Patent is given to a person who applies for it. Who applies, who's trying to register his invention. So patent is for that particular invention. It's who grants it. So it's granted by the government, For example, in India, it is granted by Indian government for the disclosure of inventions. So one of the essential features is that the disclosure of invention is very important here. The who can apply for patent? The owner himself, the owner of the invention, or the inventor, we call him, or his assignee. For example, if the inventor or the researcher is working with some industry or with some company, then that company can also apply for a patent on his behalf for a limited period of time. Yes, there is a limit that a patent is granted for. The limit is 20 years from the day you file the application. Now, patent is a negative right. In terms of law, we say a negative right and a positive right. Positive, it's not a positive right, it's a negative right. Why we call it a negative right? Because it is meant for stopping people who are using the invention without the consent of the inventor or the owner. It's also a territorial right. So if you apply for a patent in India, you won't have any rights over that patent or that invention outside India. You won't have rights in US or Europe or in any other country. So if you have to apply for if you want your rights, you want your rights to be there in the US as well or in Europe as well, then you need to file for a patent in those specific countries. Why we have territorial rights or why we don't have a worldwide patent? Because every country has their own laws. Every country is sovereign in nature and they make their own laws and they are governed by their own laws. So everyone wants to have, they specify what sort of inventions can be patented in their own country. A statutory right, again, statute means a certain law, so it's given by law. So there's a patent act. Similarly, there's a trademark act for trademarks. There's a design act for designs. There's a copyright act for copyrights. So all these are statutory rights. So for our research students, there's always a question whether to publish or patent, what they should go for. Should they only publish their research work, their thesis, or should they go for a patent? There's always this question. What should be the answer? The answer is, again, very simple. First, one should always patent. Patent is the best publication, because if you do not apply for a patent, you simply publish your thesis or your research work, you do not have any rights. You give away your rights, and any other person, he can use your publication, he can make a product out of your publication if possible, and you will not be able to stop him. So it is patents which give you a right, whereby you can stop others from using your published research work or reaping profits. So first file an application before, so first file a patent application before publishing or marketing your product. Patent is the best publication. Publish frequently if innovation is a mere workshop variation to prevent competitor from patenting. So one should always, keep on, because there are smaller changes, improvements that keep coming on in your inventions, that one should always keep on patenting and, make it a cycle. What are the rights conferred by the patent again? Prevent others from making, using, offering for sale, selling, or importing infringing products in the country where the patent was granted. He can also sell these rights or conclude licensing agreements for up to 20 years. And what is the term? Again, 20 years from the date of filing the patent application. So also, again, patent is similarly, it's an asset to a company. And there are so many companies in the world. We see that, there are Apple, Amazon, Google, you have your Microsoft, and there's so many companies. How they became so big? They all became so big because they had these IPs to their name, the patents to their name. And because they had patents, they could stop others from using it, or the others could not use without seeking a license from the patent owner. So that is how these companies became bigger and bigger after repetitively patenting their small innovations that they kept coming on with. The phones you use today uses a, it's a phone which is Korean phone, Samsung, but it uses software from Google. Android software is Google, and then it has various applications downloaded over it, again, that have come from various uh, uh, different companies, different people. They are creators of these applications, and then there are features within these, and there is the integrated circuit, which is of another company in US, which is called Qualcomm. So after combining all these products, all these different softwares and hardwares, then a phone is made. And so what it tells us, that each of these owners of these various hardwares and softwares who have patented their innovations, they would be getting the royalties from whenever we buy these phones. So they will be benefiting whenever we buy these phones. So few prerequisites of patents. What is a patent? We have all discussed about what is a patent, but what are the few prerequisites or important things to note before we apply for a patent with the Indian government? A patent should be novel. It should have inventive step, and it should have certain utility. So we will talk about all these three in the coming slides. So what is novelty? Novelty is just one distinguishing feature which differentiates our product from all of the remaining products. For example, in this slide you see there is one fish which is orange in color and rest all are blue. So that one difference makes it different from all remaining fishes. In other words, if we come out with a product, and even if it has one difference with all the remaining products, that can make it novel. But again, is it capable of registering as a patent or not? Not yet. Novelty is one criteria. There are other two criteria also, which are inventive step and industrial application. So let us see. We will talk of examples here to understand what is novelty. Also, when we talk of patents or when we talk of research publications, we all know that there are so many research publications available. So whatever we have today, whatever we have created today, the idea today that we have come up with and the creation today that we have come up with, whether it is novel, so we compare it with the current state of art, or we call it a prior art, or when we compare it, we find that one distinguishing feature, and that one distinguishing feature will make our invention novel. Again, what can constitute as prior art? It should not any art that is published, and any prior sale of the particular product can constitute a prior art. Providing a sample market survey, so someone goes up with this product, his new creation, to do a market survey. He can reveal certain features, characteristics of his product which are important, and that can become prior art to his own invention. Accidental use, he accidentally using his invention on his own, or someone else using it, or circulation of pamphlets or giving a presentation. Many a times it happens that entrepreneurs, these people come to us and they say that we have given a presentation in this forum, on that forum, and now what can happen. So it's always advisable to not to do such acts, not to do a market survey or make accident use or share any presentation or publish any research paper on your invention before you apply for a patent. So it's always advisable first apply for a patent and then do any of these activities. Here we see few examples of needles, how and we all have seen them in some form or other. As we see on top left corner, there is a simple needle. It's used for weaving, and it has got this. This is called an eye of the needle, and used to insert the thread here. Just one minor difference between this and this needle, and the story goes back. The inventor of this needle, who came up with this particular needle that can be used in a machine, he was sleeping. So he saw people running behind him with spears, with with the long rods which have a pointed tip, and he was running ahead, and people were running behind him to kill him with spears. And he saw those spears had a hole in near the tip, or an eye near the tip. So in his sleep, he saw this dream, and he came up with this type of needle, where this needle could be used in a machine. And simple difference here, the eye is at the back of the needle, at the head side. Here the eye of the needle is at the tip side. Very, very small difference, but if you see the use, how different and how it revolutionized the industry. Here you have to stitch the cloth by your hand, and here it can be used in a machine. Of course, the sewing machine had several other inventions before one could come up with, but again, it required this type of needle to work on. And so the difference is there, and so there is novelty. Even a small difference, I said, one small difference can constitute novelty. Again, if we see this type of a needle here, some of you will know that this is used for giving stitches to a patient who's got a wound, who's got an open wound. So this is used for stitching wounds. And this is again a very looks very similar to this one, but used for a totally different purpose. It is used for catching fish, or it is used in fish rods. Let's go to another examples. Here you see several scissors, and all have got different uses. So this is used for cutting a fabric or a cloth. This is used for at saloons. The barbers use it for thinning the hair. If there is a larger quantity of hair, this can be used. This is again used by barber, and it has got levers like this to give comfort to them. This is a foldable thing, and these are again used for different purposes. So you see, there are very, very minute differences. Sometimes a scissor with a long, which is very long in length, can be used for different purpose from a scissor which is small in length. So the purpose is different, and and you cannot replace it with the other needle. So very, very small differences yet, and they all are novel with each other. So when we talk about inventions, we also need to understand that there's a problem solution approach. We also need to know that, okay, there are problems that exist around us, and how can we solve them? How to be creative in our minds. We all are nowadays working from home, and we all must have been doing something very creative, coming out with something new. Maybe it may be some people are doing some people are being creative when it comes to their drawings or paintings, or many people are going to their kitchens and trying out new things. So these are all places where one can be creative at home, sitting at home. And with the problem solution approach, one has to understand, okay, then there is a problem, so there must lie a solution. As we all know that necessity is the mother of invention. So And in these stressful times, in these uncertain times when we all are going through a pandemic, and there's so many inventions that we have seen over the couple of months or 3 months that have already come up. The inventions, we all know that ventilators cost around $20,000. Used to cost around $20,000, but there are people who have now come up with ventilators in India, and they are only cost about few thousand rupees. Similar are the inventions with PPE kits, the masks you wear, or the shields you wear, or the suit you wear. So there's so many inventions that are coming because of these necessary times. So we need to identify, okay, where the problems lie and where the solutions can be. So let us look at this very unique problem solution approach and how the invention of cycle came up. So in the later 18th century, there used to be a dearth of real horses. People used to travel from one place to another place on horses or horse carts or on bullock carts. But then there was a dearth of horses and traveling within the city, and not everyone could afford to have a horse with, So what will one do? So someone, Dries, he's the inventor, and he came up with the invention of a hobby horse. So it had two wooden wheels, a wooden frame. So here you see two wooden wheels, a wooden frame, rider's leather saddle. So this is a saddle here, and nailed to the frame and steered the vehicle with a rudimentary set of wooden handlebars. So here you see wooden handlebars, and riders simply pushed the device forward with their feet. There were no gears, no pedals. And do you know it was banned from sidewalks over a danger which it posed to pedestrians. So one had to use his feet to push it forward. There were problems with this type of a cycle. It had a heavy weight. It was slow in speed. So someone gave a solution, and they built a velocipede. So here is an example of velocipede, and you see various other cycles. But velocipede also had certain problems. It was again slow in speed. So a person called John Kemp Starley, he was the inventor for safety bicycle, which we normally call bicycle or cycle nowadays, in the year 1870. And he built this tension absorbing front wheel, which had spokes, and his cycle had equally sized wheels. It had a center pivot steering and differential gears that operate with a chain drive. So as you see here, the normal Atlas cycle or Hero cycle that we use with a single gear, that is called the modern bicycle. It was invented by John Kemp Starley. So over the period of time, you have seen how cycles developed, and even now there is still innovation going in this space. Thereby, people are coming with, so many shifters, gears over, not having one single gear, but using a 3x9 or 11 mechanism to shift gears and even to climb mountains. And have so lightweight cycles of carbon frame, which are so lightweight, are weighing only 5-6 kilos as compared to 15 or 20 kilos of aluminum or steel frame cycles. So there's still innovation going on in this space. Let us now understand a bit about inventive steps. This is the second criteria on patents. So inventive step is a feature that involves technical advancement as compared to existing knowledge or having economic significance, or both. That makes the invention not obvious to a person skilled in the art. So here are a couple of things we need to understand. First is technical advancement. So there has to be some sort of technical advancement over the earlier known existing knowledge, or there can be economic significance, or both. And the invention should not be obvious to a person skilled in the art. We will understand this in a bit. What do we mean by this? So in terms of when we talk about this example or this slide, then we look at this slide, we see the example of fish where we said, okay, one simple feature will make this fish different and novel over other fishes. That was for novelty. Now, if we see here, there are 4 red fins attached to the fish, which we can say that they are fins. They provide technical advancement for this fish when we compare it with the rest of the fishes. So that is what is required for technical advancement or for inventive step to qualify for getting a patent for the invention. So logical next step given the prior art collection. So should it be a logical or not? Or non-obvious step or feature to a person skilled in the art? Who's a person skilled in the art? A person who's of average intelligence. So average intelligence, I think, every one of us is average intelligence, and in that particular field, what we have to see that, okay, we are of average intelligence in that particular field. A chemist or a pharmacist could be knowing about compounds, what are the compounds being used in a certain medicine, or a person who's a computer engineer will know what kind of a language is written. A person like me who's an electronics engineer will know what is used in circuits and how it can be modified. But if someone has gone beyond that and also expressed something more, which is also giving some enhanced result or giving some advantage over the earlier known existing technologies, or you're solving a problem and giving a certain solution, then those all can constitute a person skilled. So we understand that, for qualifying as an inventive step, the invention should not be obvious to a person skilled in the art. It has to be certain thing which is beyond to that person. For example, if we take this picture, picture on the left hand side is having some grains and some noise and some disturbance. Picture on the right hand side is clear of all the grains, noise, and is a filtered image. So this filtered image will qualify as having an inventive step over the image on the left side. Similarly, we all see SD, we watch YouTube, and if you have seen YouTube videos, there is always a number of pixels you can choose: 1080, 720, 420. So what these pixels represent? They represent, the resolution of the image of the video that you're going to see, and the resolution means the more the resolution, more clarity will be there in the image. So as you increase the resolution from 420 to 720 and then 1120 and then now 4K videos are there, where you can almost get a 3-dimensional view as if you're sitting in the place and watching the video. So, so with all this enhancement, we see that the image quality improves, the resolution improves, and so there is inventive step. The invention which we all use daily, wired and wireless communication. So earlier, we all know that there was wired communication. We used to have landline phones, and they used to be wired from one home to another home, and we had to dial through them. But what was the problem with them? The problem was that long distance communication was very difficult, and we had to use wires to connect these phones. And then we have radio telegraphy systems. Guglielmo Marconi invented radio telegraphy systems and provided wireless communication for the first time. And you see now, after this invention, long distance communication was possible. Earlier, people could use only, could transmit the message by using, this wired communication, and then there was telegraph earlier used, telegraphy system, and then later on it kept on developing, and now we use it in our smartphones every day. Now we are doing this session through a wireless system. Somewhere we don't have wires, and yet we are able to connect. So all thanks to those engineers, inventors who have come up with these inventions over the years. And are these novel? Yes, these are wireless is novel over wired because there is no wire. And are these inventive? Yes, messages were transmitted wirelessly for the first time. Radio transmission and reception is there. The waveforms are transmitted, changed from electrical to electromagnetic, and long distance communication became possible. There is a data loss and interference used to happen in the wired communication, which was reduced, that increased communication speed. Now, very few. So this is the third prerequisite for getting a patent, which is industrial application. So any invention that we go to get a patent on should be industrially applicable. It should be capable of being used, capable of being made in an industry, capable of being used and in an industry. So what do we mean by this? Let's see few very creative, interesting slides. And do you think these socks are possible? These are usable in any form. So again, we need to see whether they're even industrially one can use them somewhere. No. So this person, he opened a bottle with one bottle opener, and then he coined something where he wanted to open 2 bottles at a time. So is it solving some problem or no? Another, invention we see. Can a person even reach the handlebar by sitting here? Or can 2 people ride this bike? Very difficult. Maybe possible, but I don't think so. The bike you have pedal with hands and feet, so maybe you'll have to use your hand and feet to cycle on this bike. So what are the subject matters that are that one can patent or one can apply patent for? So in computer softwares, there can be methods or processes or operators and devices, even the network or a platform or a circuit. All these are subjects of patents. In mechanical engineering, any assembly of any devices. For example, you must have seen, how nowadays the cars are manufactured in an assembly line. So before Henry Ford came up with the invention of assembly line, they used to be manufactured one at a time. And he came up with the invention of having an assembly line where you could have several cars being manufactured within a single unit, and they could come up with more and more number of cars within a day. So method, unit, device operators. So again, pharma, chemical, a new composition of matter, new chemicals, method, processes, drugs, coatings, kit. All these are the subjects of inventions, patentable inventions in pharma domain. In bio domain, you see methods, processes, microorganisms, gene sequences, proteins, antibodies, enzymes. All these are subjects of patentable inventions in bio domain. Again, simplicity is not the bar of the invention or bar for patentability of an invention. Even a simple invention can be patented if novelty, inventive step, and industrial applicability can be established. Let us look at few simple inventions. Here, this inventor approached us, and we filed a patent for him. And this is a instrument which is used in chemistry labs for titration and other purposes. And so what he did, he made this instrument for visually impaired for teaching chemical sciences. He applied a few sensors here in these places so that an alarm is generated whenever there is the liquid or the solution or the composition reaches a particular level. So a particular alarm, a particular different sound for each level will come up so that the person who cannot visually see the experiment but can through his hearing he can understand through sound. He can understand, okay, what is the level and whether his experiment is going right or wrong. Another simple invention, this type of wash basin was used in mosques, and the person, people, they needed to go after washing their hands and face, and they also needed to wash their feet. So they made an opening here, and where they can put in their, insert their feet, and they can wash them. One of the very, very simple inventions that we all must have seen is the invention of a pizza saver, or a plastic piece that is kept inside a pizza box when it is delivered, and it saves the pizza from sticking onto the top cover of the pizza box. So what a pretty small invention. Did we ever think of that this is saving pizza sticking to the box? A simple invention, but a great invention. A couple of more case studies. I'll not take much time now. So smoking device, every one of us has seen, these devices somewhere. Earlier, people used to use BD. Now also, there are many who like this. And then there was an invention of cigar. There was a pipe and a hookah. All these are different. And then came an invention of a cigarette. But could someone have thought that, how to get a flavor or a different flavor that is different from nicotine? Or he could not get different flavor by using these devices. So problem one, what was the problem? Problem in BD that there was no filter. It was more harmful. Even a hookah or a pipe or a cigar can be more harmful. So the problem was solved by a cigarette. Cigarette introduced a filter at the backside, and the first part was filled with tobacco, and the second part had a filter. But there was still a problem. The problem, what is the problem? People wanted some flavor in their cigarette. They didn't like the same smoking the same smoke every time. So they wanted some kind of a flavor. So someone came up with a matrix delivery system where it's a kind of a plastic cigarette or a plastic bulb behind, and the smoker can release the flavor into the cigarette at any chosen time by pressing the filter so as to crush the capsule, hence user control active system in the cigarette. An audible pop-up can be heard by the smoker upon rupture of the capsule. So menthol capsule or any other flavor capsule could be inserted in this area, and by just mere rotation or a click switch refresh, the capsule will break and the flavor along with smoke will come. It was a huge commercial success worldwide. Let us discuss another case study. So special shoe system. We all must have seen in our lifetimes sometime or the other one of the greatest dancers of all time, Mr. Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson had a special shoe system, and we must have all seen his moves which he used to perform on the stage, where he used to do moonwalk, or he will bend himself in front at such a degree as if everyone will think he's some kind of a magician, or why is it not falling? Because if we do same things, we will fall. So what was there which enabled him to lean forward on the stage in front of the audience and yet not fall? So this is the invention. Inventor is Michael Jackson himself, and he devised the shoes, a specially designed heel slot which can be detachably engaged with the hitch member by simply sliding the shoe wearer's foot forward, thereby engaging with the hitch member. So this is the kind of the shoe he used to wear during his performance. And the shoe, hence this is the angle which he could tilt at. This is the front view, so not visible from here. But if you look from the side angle, the center of gravity used to lie here. And if any one of us who don't use this kind of a shoe, we can fall down. But by using the shoe, he saved himself. How he saved himself? There was a special heel, and it had this kind of a slot made in between. As you can see here, I have opened up the heel. So, and on the platform, there will be a nail somewhere on the platform where he will go after, during his performance, he will, engage his heel with the nail, and thereby, making the engagement, secure engagement, and which will stop him from falling in front. So this is the patent he had to his name, method and means for creating anti-gravity illusion. So it was just an illusion, and people used to go crazy whenever he used to make that kind of a move. So all the patents, they have certain format in which it has to be written, and one of the important features of patent document are the claims. And this is the claims of this particular invention, where it is written: a system for engaging shoes with a hitch means to permit a person standing on the stage surface to lean forward beyond his or her center of gravity. And it is comprising of at least one shoe having a heel with the first engagement means, and the second engagement means detachably engageable with the first engagement means. So these are the two types of, these are the two parts of the invention which he had. Very simple invention, and yet it created a hell of a illusion to his audience. Again, as I earlier said, all the IPs, when we file them at the patent or the intellectual property office, there is a certain procedure that is followed. And there is this procedure followed for patents. So if any one of you want to apply for a patent or have applied for a patent, you will have to go through this procedure where first to file your application, it is published. Then also it undergoes examination at the patent office. These examiners, the people there who are working there, are called examiners, who conduct examination on the patents. They examine the patents for the three criteria which we talked about: industrial application, inventive step, and novelty. And only after your invention qualifies these three criteria, and plus the criteria that the invention is patentable under the laws of India, then it is granted. So this is a procedure. So a few simple inventions I will show, which are very interesting, and you can laugh while sitting at your places, while seeing these inventions, and also light up your bulbs. As you see, this is how to apply butter on a bread, and a chair for grandpa. So you all can enjoy these pictures while I scroll through them. We all find it very difficult when we go to any conference to have a cup of tea and as well as a biscuit and hold both of them while we are standing and talking to another person. So a simple invention: a biscuit pocket in a cup. A person who went for a morning walk forgot his phone and hearing aids at home, so he put in a speaker in his shoe. We all find it very difficult and amusing to sometimes this simple plug, but the person made a hole and it became easy. And all the men who have faced problem will understand how difficult it is to make a French cut, a perfect French cut. But someone came up with an invention. And here is another invention. It is though not fully visible, so I'll just scroll across this. Person ear cleaning device. And so this is probably a lady who's standing in rain wearing a kind of a rain jacket. And as you can see, it's a protective coat. And I think it is very useful even now. In these times, it is more useful when everyone is trying to find a protective PPE kit to wear when we go in public. So one can have this kind of a kit and forget about any virus is going to catch them. Okay, and this person, he thought where he will keep the umbrella. So he thought, okay, let's have a tie. And we all find it very amusing, our toothpaste ends and then we keep on pushing, and some people even go to their kitchens to apply more pressure and they use several things to push the paste outside. But why not having it come out from two sides? So that's all from my end. I hope you really like this, like the presentation, like you understood various forms of IP. And if you have any questions, please come up.
Sure. That was a very nice session. We have the compliments, very nice session, informative session. An informative session indeed, very nice, sir. Very good presentation. So we have one query: unregistered trademark already existing or the trademark registered later, which will have more weight in dispute?
Sorry, can you please repeat?
Sure, sir. Unregistered trademark already existing or the trademark registered later, which will have more weight in dispute? Like if there is a dispute, who will have a greater weightage, a larger weightage?
See, if of course, when you have your trademark registered, one of the very essential problems that is there, that since when is this trademark existing, that is ruled out. That question is ruled out because with registration, you are given a date. Okay, this is the date you applied the registration on. But when there is no registration, then you have to show maybe other papers and by way of other evidence that since when you are using that that trademark. So there is always a question on that, the validity of the evidence, whether it is correct evidence or whether it is produced in a right manner or not. So all those questions go off as soon as there is a registration. So it is always suggested to get the trademark registered.
Sure, sir. We have Professor Yogesh Chandra, sir. He wants to ask some question directly from you. Professor Yogesh Chandra, sir, you may unmute yourself now. We have enabled the setting and you can ask the question directly from sir. Yogesh, sir. Okay, we will just enable the setting so that people can unmute themselves. Manisha ma'am, Yogesh Chandra sir, you can unmute yourself and put forward your queries.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Mayank. This is Dr. Manisha Shukla. I would simply like to inquire about one thing regarding the infringement. So once an infringement process is proceeded, right? So in that case, like if somebody infringes onto your IP or a patent, then in that case, does the person have to pay a penalty or a case is launched against that person and some kind of a punishment or a penalization is proceeded?
See, patent infringement suit can be initiated against the infringer, and that can be initiated in a district court or in high courts in other places. For example, in Delhi, High Court has the original jurisdiction, but in other places, district courts is the place where the suit can be filed. And the person who has the patent, he can seek damages. He can seek damages over from the infringer that, he was without their permission using the product, and they can also quantify as to how much damages they are claiming.
So that means it's the monetary matter which is taken care of, or is that there an imprisonment as well?
No, there's no imprisonment, but of course there is. You can ask court to stop the other person from selling that product or using that product. That is one thing, of course. That is the first thing. Second thing is by way of damages. But there's no in cases of patents, there is no imprisonment.
Okay, so in case of a product of heritage, or let's say a building of a heritage, or like you mentioned, the neem plant or the neem tree. So
Right.
In that case, if a product is made of neem tree, right, not the tree itself. So
Right.
you use some kind of a part of a plant or a tree to prepare some kind of a product. So in that case, since it's a part of the tree, so is that also patentable, and or since the tree is not patentable, since it's been over the years, so like that, is that there is some dispute regarding the same also?
See, yes, of course. So I talked about three prerequisites like novelty, inventive step, and industrial application. But our Patent Act also provides for certain other kind of inventions that people might come up with as to non-patentable. And one of the inventions that is not patentable in India is the parts of plants or animals. So these types of inventions are not exclusively, they're barred from patenting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but definitely if tomorrow someone comes up with let's say a composition from a neem tree, or and then he uses several other compounds to come up with a composition, and that composition is novel, inventive, that can be patented, because that's a composition, that's not only part of a plant.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
This is Yogesh Chandar from IGT ITM New Delhi. So my question is, see, under this food security, India has been providing a number of subsidies to the farmers in the form of minimum support price and subsidized inputs. So being a member of World Trade Organizations and one of the signatories to TRIPS, so struggling very hard to maintain a balance on one hand to abolish or minimize subsidies, or to provide this patent to the farmers. So this problem is going for long. What are your comments about this, where it will end?
Well, I think it's a very different topic. I understand
It's
there
patent only, sir.
What we can sir, we can share your email ID with the participant.
Okay, thank you very much. Right.
Yes, sir. Any more queries? If you people have, you can raise your hand or you can post your questions in the chat box. Okay, sir, we don't have many queries.
Okay.
Sir, thanks a lot for finding time for us and agreeing to us to give your valuable time. I know you must have tweaked your planner for the day a lot to find out time for us, and that was a very amazing session. You explained the concepts in such a nice way, and the best part that I found was that you said simplicity is not a bar for invention. You explained in such simple concepts like in different kind of inventions that were there in the needle and a scissor, or in the shoes of Michael Jackson. So everything was explained in such a nice way, And like I said, that there is a lack of awareness among people about intellectual property rights. So the need of the hour is to make people aware, and what better way can it be rather than the teacher when they can explain the concepts to our students. So we, the participants, we have imbibed a lot for our own self, and we can now deliver the good things that we have taken from your session to our students, so that when they enter the market, they have the right awareness that few people don't have in the current scenario. Because now people generally don't have a thought even to get themselves registered for patent or IP. They don't know how they can have monetary benefits from IP. So, sir, that was a very enlightening, fruitful session. Now, Shivangi, would you like to add few lines, though words won't be sufficient to praise your session, sir? But still, I would like to ask Shivangi, would you like to add few lines for sir's session?
First of all, congratulations for the wonderful presentation. As we know that the arrival of the fourth industrial revolution has put IP at a central subject matter in economic policy and decision making, both by the public and private sector. It also challenges that what intellectual property to evolve following the dynamics of the new digital world. Your words really drive for IP to evolve is also felt within the context of IP in the copyright and creative industries, which are among the most dynamic sector in the world economy and are regarded as an emerging high growth area. Copyright and creative, which is suggested by you, which makes industry leverage socio-economic wealth for society, as well contributing to the achievement of the sustainable development goals for a country like India. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thought and experience with this BBT ITM. Your talk was particularly appropriate at this time when we are considering new initiative for expanding the India's growth. Sir, your suggestion for the time being is really appreciable. Your remarks about the basic concept of property right, the need of the awareness regarding IPR, patent registration, and its needs, success stories really grabs our attention and really emphasizing your clearance about how to file a patent and ongoing patent wars between the significant brands in the market. Roadmap towards intellectual property rights really helps our participants. Thanks to intellectual property, as well thanks to you for associating with the IP sector, as the sector is truly involved in creating jobs and bringing innovative products and services to the consumers and companies. In many ways, it represents the future as well. Thank you again, sir, for contribution to this MDP by clearing our doubt for intellectual property rights. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you, Shivangi, for your words. And this session wouldn't have been possible without the contribution of our director, sir. And he has always been there supporting us for any innovative idea that we come up with us. So now I would like to request our director, sir, to kindly grace us with few of his words of wisdom. Sir, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Professor Priyanka Singh and Professor Shivangi and the technical team of this. On behalf of management of this institute, the chairperson, Mrs. Alka Das, and the organizers of this event, thank and offer gratitude to Mr. Mayank Sood, who is the founder of K&S Partners. Obviously, the theme is invaluable considering the fact that the program is on Atmanirbhar Bharat. So, and it is often said in entrepreneur, the programs which are organized on these themes that getting a patent is a game changer when you are looking for the finance. So if you have a patent, of course, to attract the angel investors or venture capitalists, it is really a biggest hook factor. So I really particularly hats off to Mr. Mayank Sood that having had a engineering background, he has opted for this, domain as an attorney or so. So I'm sure all those technocrats will be far more comfortable dealing with him, when thinking of these kind of technology-based. So the presentation was definitely quite engaging and meaningful. I think it will give more courage to entrepreneur mindset, because it is basically a mindset regardless of the age. And I really thank him the service that he is doing to the nation, because I personally believe it's not merely a business, the way he is really helping out the budding entrepreneurs, but he is doing a great service to the nation. So he is an asset to the vision of the nation, that is Atmanirbhar Bharat. And I'm sure some of us out of these programs will sooner or later approach him, so that it can be converted into industrial applications based products or other things which are really patentable. In the past 2 decades, things have changed dramatically thanks to a person like him. Because I came across an article almost 7 years back, in which it was mentioned that 15 years back, if you see the number of patents that were there, considering all the IITs together, it was only 33, which was like a shock wave. And thereafter, they became conscious, and then they started filing. Same holded true for HAL also, that their number of patents were very meager. But then they started with a drive, and they started realizing that, you know, patenting is a very important domain. Things are changing, and a resource person like Mr. Mayank Sood is really acting as a catalyst. So on behalf of the institute, I once again thank him on behalf of organizers, and I am really obliged to organizers also for taking up this theme, Atmanirbhar Bharat, for this MDP. Thank you very much, and over to the anchor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your wise words. And you also have a busy schedule. Even when you have many other engagements parallel to this session, even then you manage to find time for us. That is a great thing for us. And Mayank sir, it was a privilege to have you here. And now I would like to request Adarsh to please offer a vote of thanks to sir. Adarsh, over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very good afternoon, everyone. I want to take this moment and thank Honorable Speaker and Resource Person, Mr. Mayank Sood sir, for taking out his valuable time and sharing his wisdom with us. Sir, every word spoken by you has inspired us to the core. I cannot thank you enough. You have explained in such a nice way the concept of intellectual property and its value, benefits, importance. And you have also explained various forms of IP, IPR cycle, patents, trademarks. And you have explained amazing success story of Pilot Fixon erasable pen, Coke can, Dropbox, and so on. I hope this fruitful session will add value to our lives. Thank you so much, sir, for this fruitful session. Now, this brings me to the people without whom this event would not have been possible. First and foremost, our director, Dr. Bhavesh Kumar Chauhan sir, who have provided us a platform to conduct this program. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank you, our head of department, Professor Vinay Kumar Yadav sir, for always being us and for always providing guiding. I would like to, our heartfelt thanks goes to our Professor Priyanka ma'am and Dr. Shivangi Tiwari ma'am, without whose perseverance, ideas, and guidance, this event was unimaginable. And I would like to thank the rest of the faculty who are present here. Our student coordinators, Divyanshu Singh sir, Ishita Mishra, Aryan Agrari, Samir Gildihal, and Ayush Agrawal, who have managed this webinar with all their heart and hard work, showing their true traits of a manager. Last but not the least, heartiest thanks to our participants who took their keen interest in the program and made this webinar a successful one. And participants will provide all of you feedback forms soon. Thank you one and all. With this is me, Adarsh Dwivedi, signing off. Stay indoors, stay motivated, and stay safe. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adarsh. And dear participants, I'll repeat that qualifying the criteria of 80% attendance is mandatory to successfully complete this management development program and receive the certificate. You have been very attentive and patient to the 5 days journey of this MDP. Tomorrow we have the 6th day and the last day. See you all tomorrow. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot, Mayank sir, Director sir, HOD sir, student coordinators, and the participants. See you all tomorrow. Have a nice day. Stay safe, stay happy. Sir, we can now.
Thank you so much, Mayank sir, for accepting our invitation and facing with your presence.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, BK Chauhan sir, and thank you, Shivangi and Priyanka and Adarsh. It was a very, very wonderful session. And I hope everyone enjoyed and benefited from this session. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and honor for me to be on this stage, on this platform. Thank you so much.
Sir, can we proceed in winding up with all your permission?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Director sir and Mayank sir, can we proceed in winding it up?
Yes, please.
Please go ahead.
Thanks. Divyanshu, please, we can proceed in winding it up.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Mayank sir. Thank you, Director sir. Thank you, ma'am. So I'm winding up with your permission.
Sure, Divyanshu, please go ahead.